I think I can go like that. Okay. I believe that we're live. I think we're live, depending on where we're going in. There's no way to tell if we're live or not. But welcome to the Nights of Automation Mastermind, the second one for March of 2025. Remember, we do this on the second and the fourth Thursday of every month at 4 p.m. Pacific, and Arizona doesn't do time zones, so apparently this is supposed to be 5 p.m. It's 4 p.m. Pacific, Arizona. We're doing this. We're going ham. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and show you a really nerdy little trick, and that's going to be it. This is going to be a quick little mastermind. If you want to go ahead and click into the Google Meet, I'll happily let you in, and we're going to go ahead and have some fun here. But what I want to talk to you today about is the idea behind changing the introduction of an email based on the time of day the email went out. Plain English. If it goes out in the morning, we say good morning. If it goes out in the afternoon, it says good afternoon. And there's actually two other conditions for that. So how is this relevant? We know that relationships are automation, automation is relationships at scale, which means that whatever you would do for one person, you're doing it for 100,000, million people. And it still needs to feel like that personal one-on-one thing, right? So this is relevant when we're talking about things like lead magnets or downloads. So pretend for a second, put yourself in this position. It's 4 p.m. You see an ad for something like, I don't know, like the language of automation cheat sheet that MonkeyPod has. You want to download this. You give your info. You get the email. Again, it's 4 p.m. You click to download that. The follow-up email is scheduled to come 23 hours after you click that, because statistically, that's when you're most likely to be in front of your inbox. Listen, there's no judgment here. I'm a night owl myself, so like maybe I'm doing stuff at midnight, 2 in the morning, whatever. That was me in college, you know, between actually 12 a.m. and 4 a.m. was when I did most of my graduate work, right? So the follow-up is with respect to when you're engaging, okay? That is why we want to change the introduction of the email based on time that it goes out, because we want to create a conversation. So like if for some reason I were to know somehow, like let's say you're my buddy, you are my buddy, you're here on the Automation Mastermind, I send you something at 10 a.m. and I know that you click it and download it somehow. I'm going to show up at 9 a.m. and say, hey, good morning, buddy. What do you think of that thing I sent you yesterday? Or because you're my friend, I'm sending you something at 10 p.m. at night. You click and download it, and then at 9 p.m. the next day, I say, hey, good evening. I know it's a little late to be sending email. What do you think of that thing I sent you yesterday, right? It's relationships at scale. So that's already a super advanced tactic. If you're doing follow-up from an email link click and you want to stoke a conversation, you do a 23-hour delay because you know they're in front of their inbox. Okay, so this is something that we do very often. I'm going to go ahead and pull it up. In fact, our latest blog post was talking about the cost, the actual for real cost of advertising on Facebook. And it's not just your daily budget, and it's not what you're going to pay us to run it. There's other costs associated with that, right? I'm not going to go ahead and, you know, spoil it, but spoiler, it's the cost it is to make the image or the video or whatever, right? So at the end of that blog post, you can go ahead and download our ad planning tool. And that's what I'm going to go ahead and pull up into here. So there it is. All right, cool, great. So you go to a blog post. You ask for this ad plan. We deliver it. Okay. Ignore this stuff down here. Oh, actually, don't ignore. Ignore this. This is something totally nerdy. But operationally, what's happening is that we are tagging you that you downloaded this thing. We're also adding you to our blog notifications. From a messaging standpoint, we're immediately sending you the plan, and then we hope that you download it. And if you don't download it, 3 days later, we send you a reminder in the morning. Please remember to download this. And then 4 days later, we're saying, hey, Final call. I don't want to be a bother, but you asked for this thing. Please go ahead and download it, right? Again, relationships at scale. This is what you would do with a regular, normal person. So that's that. What we're talking about isn't even that. We're not even talking about that today. We're talking about what happens after they download it, okay? Because the entire point of this sequence is to get them to click that link to make a copy of the ad plan, and then there's the follow-up, and then it comes 23 hours after the fact. So again, if you request it at 9 a.m. and download it, you're getting an email at 8 a.m. the next morning says, what'd you think? If you request it at 5 p.m., the next day you're getting an email after you download it. The next day you're getting an email that says, hey, at 4 p.m., what do you think of it? If you're a night owl and you download this at 2 a.m., you're getting an email at 1 a.m. that says, what did you think about it? Because we care about the relationship, okay? In fact, that's the difference between generations. Two things between generations. I was born in 85. When you in a pantomime being on the phone, what do? Hey, what's going on? Okay. But for digital natives, people that never had a landline, this is how they talk on the phone. Okay. Because we love you, and because I'm a, Gen X millennial cusp, this is how we make a heart. Okay. It looks like a heart, right? Younger folks do this. They do that, which is actually, in fairness, it's a much better heart. Anyway, hope you found that interesting. This is the meat and potatoes of today's call, and then we're going to be done. The follow-up of this email. Again, it doesn't matter. What? What? I'm not going to scream, but I want to scream. We have to convert this into the new email builder. The point is, if this email comes out in the morning, it says good morning. If it comes in the afternoon, it says good afternoon. And if it's super late in the night or super early in the morning, it does this. So, well, we're going to right-click, and we're going to do the new email experience. We're going to go ahead and convert this. Let's preview this. Okay. In fact, there it is. We're just gonna have this conversation right here. Okay. So this is talking about some really wild, advanced, dynamic content stuff. Okay. So check this out. Assign. This is creating a variable. We're creating a variable called hour of the day. So if it sends at 9, that value is 9. If it's 5 p.m., the value is 1700, military time, right? So go ahead and create a variable called hour of day that is based on the time of today. Return it in the hour, in the HH, in the hour. So again, all I care about is the hour. I don't care about the minutes or milliseconds or nothing. And then, because we're using math, make sure that you convert this to an integer, okay? So plain English. When this email sends out, go set hour of day as the numerical hour for when it goes out. I don't care about the minutes, time zones, none of that. Just what's the hour? Okay. Now we can do logic of that. We can say, hey, listen, if the hour of the day is greater than or less than 8 and less than or equal to 11, we say good morning. Because what this means is that the email is being sent between 8 a.m. and 11 p.m. So we can say good morning, right? Even if it's 11:59 a.m., it's still technically the morning. And then we say, listen, otherwise, else if this hour of day variable is greater than or equal to 12 or less than 17, which again, military time, 5 p.m., we get to go ahead and say good afternoon. Oh, and it got rid of the merge fields. This should say good morning, Paul. Good afternoon, Paul. Whatever. Okay. Otherwise, condition the third. What happens if it's between 3 a.m. but before 7 a.m.? What if the email gets sent between 3 a.m. and 6:59, right? That's pretty early. I'm not up that late or early myself. So here's what the email says. It says, good morning, Paul. We know it's kind of early to be sending an email, but we do care about you, so we wanted to ask. And then that's the end of the condition, okay? So now if you think about time as like a square in a pie, we've handled from 3 a.m. to 7 a.m. and then 7 to noon and then noon to 5. What if it's outside of that? Then we know that it's in the evening. In other words, we know that it's after 1700 p.m. We say, good evening. We know it's sort of late to be saying an email, but we do care about you, so we wanted to ask. Okay? This entire piece is conditional. This right here is how we change the introduction of the email based on when the actual email came out, because it's with respect to when they downloaded something. And then we say, cool, hey, what do you think about that template? We're able to get it copied over. Okay. All right. So I'm actually going to fix this right now. And for those that are just joining us, for the context, somebody opts into this plan. We deliver it to them. They click to download it. We follow up with them 23 hours later. Because again, statistically, when you're in front of your inbox, that's when you're in front of your inbox, at least the very next day. That's statistically when you're going to be. If you're checking your emails at 2 p.m., cool. I'm going to send an email at 1 p.m. because I know that you're probably going to see my email next, right? So that's what this is. They did the whole email changeover. It doesn't support this. So here's an extra training. We're going to go ahead and do this new email experience. We were looking at the preview earlier. We're going to convert it to a new one. Great. Thumbs up. Super sick. Can't imagine how awesome this is. And then we're going to go ahead and fix this. So there you go. Oh, somebody wants to come hang out. Yes. Heather Wells. Heather Wells.
Awesome, go.
That's me. I'm that guy.
You are.
I'm this guy. Me.
You are that guy. You are this guy, that guy.
Mm-hmm. You going to be at PCon next week?
Absolutely.
Good. Are we going to go ahead and bend the Thrive partner, product manager people's ears about stuff?
Absolutely.
Good. Sweet.
Absolutely.
So,
I've already been doing that.
That's awesome. And I have a bunch of books from Partiv that you're probably going to get, and like some gold $1 million bills and that stuff. So, anyway, what's going on?
Not much. I finally caught you live. I was like, oh, Paul's live, and I'm not in a meeting for once. Woohoo!
Sweet. Did you catch any of this changing the introduction based on the time of day stuff at all, or are you just here now?
I caught like the tail end of it. Right. Yeah, but I've seen it, but I know I know it. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure I've had you load a couple of emails in the past for clients talking about this. So yeah.
Yep.
And so let me go ahead and put a cherry on top of this. This is basically it. So when this email sends out, assign the hour of day to today in an integer based on the hour. If it's between 8 a.m. and 11, say good morning, Heather. Otherwise, else, if it's between 12 and 17, aka 5 p.m. for the non-military folks, good afternoon, Heather. Otherwise, if it's being sent between 3 a.m. but before 7 a.m., say good morning. We know it's early, but we care about you.
Right.
Otherwise, that means it's between 5 p.m. and 3 a.m. So we say, great, I know it's, good evening, Heather. It's sort of late, but we care about you, but what about this? What do you think about that thing?
Am I missing the share screen part, or did that go away when you added me in?
Oh, no. You know what? It sure didn't. We're going to go ahead and thank you for saying words.
You're welcome.
Yeah, no. There you go.
I often try to say words.
I'm in Google Meet, and I'm using OBS to stream one screen, but when people come into it, that's basically it. Between 8 and 11.
No worries. I visually in my brain know exactly what you're doing, but I just I wonder if he's still
this is great. No, I was not. So thank you, because that means other people didn't see it. And there you go. And then the conditional ends here. This is it. You see the good morning, good afternoon, good morning. I know it's early. Good late. I know it's late. What do you think about this thing that you downloaded 23 hours ago? Did it make sense? So right now it's looking at my fake watch just before 5 o'clock. So if I preview this, it's going to say, good afternoon. What do you think about this?
Yep.
And it's all about relationships at scale. And this is the stupid automation trick that I wanted to cover today, which I don't know if I've covered it before, but there you go. And we had a bonus. Here's how to convert old emails into the new ones. So,
Mm-hmm.
is there something that you wanted to rap about or that you want to smash brains on, or are you just hanging out and being cool because, you're cool?
I'm just hanging out and being cool with you because like you're one of my favorite people, and I don't always get to join you for because Thursdays are my meeting days, so usually it's like back to back to back, and then I see like, oh, Paul was live. I'm like, dang it, I missed it.
All right. Well, then let's go ahead and do some mind share on this. Where do you? And I'll put you on the spot, but you're an expert. You're a G, so I think you can handle it. Where do you see this specific tactic? Because this is a ground level tactic of like changing the introduction based on the time of day. What are some instances you can see this being relevant other than following up from a lead
magnet? Instances where I could see it being relevant. Well, so there's a lot as far as like the time of day. Like there's a ton of different, use cases for using the liquid code and stuff like that. But like as far as the time of day, following up from a lead magnet, it really kind of depends on.
It does depend on the context.
That it depends on the context of like, so I'm just trying to think of like specific scenarios where I'm like, the time of day is something that's really relevant and important. I mean, obviously having various different, emails that go out based on not the time of day, but other information. I can come up with a bazillion different use cases for that, but specifically for time of day. One of the things that I can see it is really useful in is like appointment reminders and things of that nature. So depending on, so if you set up an automation where it is so-and-so has booked an appointment, their appointment is on this day at this time, right? So your automation is set up to go out 1 hour prior to their appointment. If their appointment is, depending on the time of day, in the morning, the reminder email would say good morning, the reminder email would say good afternoon, the reminder would say, right? Or you can change it to say, we're very excited to see you for your appointment this afternoon, right? So depending on when their appointment is, it's changing the text of that email to just identify like, hey, your appointment is this morning, as opposed to, this afternoon at 2 p.m., right? So, or we're excited to see you this evening, right? That type of thing. So it's just really helpful in those types of things where it can make the email sound more personalized. It's not as stiff, and it gives you just a little bit more, flexibility with the way the content is presented based on whenever the email is going to go out.
Yeah, making it context aware. Because again, it's relationships at scale. If I have an appointment with you at 4:00 in the afternoon and I send you a text that says good morning, it's kind of weird. That makes me think, maybe is there a VA working like 11 hours ahead of me, that'll like messing it up.
Exactly.
So, like, it's very
and it also
subtle.
Eliminates the need for you to build out multiple things based off of when. Like you can definitely do that without the liquid content, but you have to build different scenarios for that. And it's
and that would be a pain in the butt. So talking appointment reminders, that's exactly the simplest answer I was thinking. Appointment reminders is great. Following up a lead magnets. If you have actually worked with the client this morning, they do a master class every single day, but sometimes it's in the morning, sometimes it's in the afternoon. This is a great use case for that. Hey, we're sending this out, at 3 p.m. or 8 a.m. or whenever it's going out. Good morning. We're happy to see you on this master class. Good afternoon. There it is. So it is a very, again, I'll say it's a stupid automation trick. But when you do it right, people aren't going to be sure you did anything at all. And I think that's kind of the magic in it. And I think that's what a lot of people overlook.
And it just improves the quality of like your communication with them. So
it does.
Absolutely.
And you can expand this idea to the different months of the year as well, which maybe I'll talk about that in the next. That's exactly what I'll talk about next, because I have a client there. They're an eye doctor. They have an evergreen kind of thing selling their physical newsletter.
Mm-hmm.
And part of it is they send emails about recipes. It's the same recipe every time. But if the email comes out between like January and March, it says, "Hope you're having a great new year and hope you're staying warm." And then if it's
Mm-hmm.
between like April and June, it says, something
Spring.
different.
Right.
It's the same kind of concept. So
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can,
And it just gives you the ability to really customize and like, again, give it a more personal feel than just the very cold, basic, standard email, because you don't know when they're going to get it, right? Depends on, right. So it gives you the ability to create content that will update itself based on whenever the person happens to hit that specific piece of content.
Yes. Which I think that's kind of the big lesson is you gotta, if you're gonna do something that's evergreen that could go out 365 days out of the year, is there an opportunity for you to customize even a sentence about it just to make it relevant to what's going on? And that can make the difference between people responding to it or like marking it as unsubscribe spam kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So, you got any brain busters while we're here? Anything that you've been noodling on lately? This is a mastermind after all, so.
I mean, I've done some stuff that we've set up. Nothing that has been like I haven't hit a wall. I worked on one of my clients who runs a therapy practice. They are working on and they use their Keap app solely for business automation. Like they barely ever use it for marketing. It's like they'll send out an occasional newsletter once every blue moon and an occasional like, hey, we've got a new group coming out. It's always just a new notification. Everything else that is set up in their automation is only for running the back end of their business and moving their clients from point A to point B and moving their team from point A to point B. And so we just got done setting up a credentialing sequence for their therapists when they have to get credentialed with the various different insurance companies that they work with.
Okay.
And so it basically maps, and it's for tracking their process and where they are in it, but and making sure that they're following up to get them the application submitted and all the way through to completion. But then also for reporting, so because they actually have somebody who's built a dashboard for them that is tracking all the stats of like their new inquiries and who converts to a client and how long that client stays with the practice and how long like the therapist application process and how long it takes to get them credentialed, and like there's all these different data points. And we were originally going to try and do it with opportunities and a pipeline, because that's how their client process works, as far as from application to insurance verification to scheduling to getting them in, with their therapist. But due to some of the data points, we weren't going to be able to do it. So we ended up just setting it up where each one has a stage, and it's a custom field of where are they in the like Kaiser credentialing, Cigna credentialing, TRICARE credentialing, right? And that's the status. And so each one of us a drop down of where they could be in that process, and then set up all of the automation based off of where they are in that process. So because I was really hoping with one of the changes that they were making to the opportunities, because they set up you can have custom fields with the opportunities now, that I would be able to utilize that in some of the logic and building out the automation and have it be a little bit more of an automated process.
Not yet.
But we can't, not yet. So I was like, dang
we're
it.
getting there. But no, that's really cool. So what I want to highlight is that you build automation that the customer basically never sees it.
Nope.
It's operational. It's behind the scenes. It's the thinking about like a theme park ride. It's the like mechanisms and servos and gears and everything that nobody ever sees.
Yep.
But they still experience the amazing result of it. Yeah. And sometimes that is the best automation. That nobody sees it.
Yeah,
just like
and it's
magic.
the easiest possible way for the staff to also have it function, right? So the goal in what I built is also, it's very complex and confusing and, you know, mind bending on the back end, but from the admin staff's, you know, user experience, it's all I have to do is go to their contact record, fill out the internal form, and that's it. And then everything else is done.
That's awesome.
Right. And yeah. So the goal is to make it so it's as, you know, minimal touch as possible and as least confusing as possible.
I love that.
From their aspects.
Yeah, no, I love it. You know, from the bear aspects, from the tiger aspects, you know, from the
yeah, and then that just makes sure that it's like, okay, in 30 days, if they haven't been moved into credentialing completed, like if they haven't been updated, a task goes out to follow up and find out where they are in the application process.
That's
and
awesome.
Then that's all you got to do. And if they are completed, great. If not, you don't have to do anything because the system's already set up to update them to say, okay, it's been 30 days. Now it's moved to 30 days still waiting, right? Like, you know, it automatically updates that, which is what I was hoping for with opportunity custom fields, but not yet.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah.
Give them some time.
Well, and the other problem that I run into with that, though, is you can only update opportunities either by the most recently created or the most recently updated. And being that there's 6 different insurances.
That would be really nasty.
Exactly. So that was the other reason we couldn't use the opportunities as a way to manage it. So we had to go the other way.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
And I think that really speaks to how the employee experience sometimes is actually even more important than the customer experience. Because like, and talking about therapies, like, yeah, the customer's got to come in, they got to have their sessions with their people and whatnot. But like, the quality of that therapist needs to be vetted and they got to be approved and all the insurance and stuff like that. So like, customers are never going to see all that, but the employees do. And you made the employee's life so much easier. If you had to guess how many hours, so for every new therapist that comes on, how many hours of like work would it take before compared to, based on the system you built, how many hours does it take to get a therapist from like you're hired to now we're giving you patients? Like,
right.
What if they
so actually I actually asked her based on kind of what we had set up in this, because everything that I'm working on building with her, I'm putting into a solution for like called Simple Practice Solutions, to basically have sort of some of these. Sorry, it got warm out here in Colorado, so everybody brought their toys out.
Oh, everything got warm. My throat has been scratchy and terrible all week. But hashtag Solution Launchpad, I think.
Yeah, Solution Launchpad. Yeah, so I'm working on building that out. So I asked her, I was like, you know, what did this, how did this help? And like, what's everything that we built and set up for you? Like, how has it affected your practice? And she was like, she said it basically was like her having 2 additional staff members. And so it saved, I think she said like, it saved her admin staff a good 10 hours per week on just things that they were having to do and following up on and keep track of and updating spreadsheets and like all the stuff that they were, you know, having to do.
That's a big deal. That's more than 1 full work day's worth of work.
Yeah, exactly. And she was like, and it helped the admin because they were like, oh yeah, we actually know, you know, when we're like, hey, what's going on with so-and-so, they're like, oh yeah, let me look. Oh, this happened. They filled this out, you know, da, da, da. So it was like, they didn't have to go searching. They all are very like more confident in their roles. And I think she said, you know, obviously it's difficult to track like the value dollar wise when it comes to like insurance and payouts and all that stuff. I was like, but like, if you're thinking about like, how having some of these systems have helped your practice as far as like retaining your clients and things like that. She was like, you know, my private pay clients are like roughly around $180 per session. and the average is like 8 sessions. Like that's the average of how long they'll stay.
You said $188.
$180 per session.
And then they stay on.
The average length of, is 8 sessions. Obviously, you have people who stay longer, but average 8 sessions.
Average, so
and now they have a 70% retention rate on that. So so it saved them a ton of money.
High five. That's awesome.
Yeah. So
hell yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, that's super cool. And thank you for sharing that. And and I think that's a really important lesson, that sometimes the customer never sees the automation. The automation is exclusively there to support the employees and the business owner, so that way they can do their things better.
Yeah, and to provide a really streamlined experience. Because like I said, none of these people, with the exception of, thank you for your interest in our practice, fill out this form so we have the information from you. But other than that, and then like the occasional, hey, we need you to renew your insurance with us type of thing, they don't get any other emails. Like nothing.
All right. But now they
do. There's no marketing that's a part of that.
And do you think that those therapists, those people that are looking to hop on with this therapy, do you think that they feel more cared for and more valued because of this process?
Yeah, because part of the process that we built for the employees is also not just the hiring process and the verification and certification process, but it's once they go through the hiring and they get their offer and they get accepted and everything, all the tasks that they have to do for, like, okay, great, the admin staff is going to do blah, blah, blah. There's a task in there that's like, great, add it to the website. So they're immediately like, oh, we're part of the team. It's very quick. And then also it's like, great, make sure that you put their welcome card and their, coffee mug on their desk. And like, so it's all these different pieces of like, just making sure that every piece of it is very, very orchestrated, and to give them a simple, easy process. And then also, like, there's so many steps when it comes to this. It's like, okay, you also have to renew your license with us, and you have to, so it's like the reminders, you have to do your, discrimination classes and like all of those things. And it just makes the process so smooth for them that, like, they don't even, there's like not a part where they're like, hey, I don't have X, Y, and Z. Like, I don't, all the way down to make sure you give them their key is a part of the process inside of their system. Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's great. I would love to see under the hood of that. Obviously not like live here on a Mastermind, but I would love to just see what you built, because I'm sure it's like remarkable. When you're ready to package it up into the Solution Launchpad with this client, like, let me know, because I've been playing with Solution Launchpad for the last couple of years, and I think I finally figured out how to make it work. But that's awesome.
If you need help, let me know. I was at the very beginning sort of alpha testing it, so I'm happy to hop on if you.
I found a couple of odd things. Maybe we'll rap about it sometime.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So cool. Thanks for sharing that. Thanks for giving some more examples of how it makes sense to change the introduction of an email based on the time of day. And if you're watching, you're not going to hang out with us next week at PartnerCon unless you're going to. But
unless you're going,
probably not. We're going to go get that FOMO. You're going to miss it. But I'm sure we're going to talk about it on the very next one that we do. Because remember, it's the second and fourth Thursday every month, 4 p.m. Pacific. And of course, Heather, you're always absolutely welcome. Thanks for hanging out. And
I always try to jump on when I can.
No, you're doing great.
I'm excited to see you next week.
Yeah, absolutely. I got my lab coat, and I think what I'm going to do, because you gave me the ClickFunnels Loves Infusionsoft shirt. I haven't done anything with it yet, but I think I might do the whole like open the jacket and like it's there kind of thing. I think that would be funny, right? Okay.
I think that's great.
I think I'm going to do that. I'll be like, hey, Thrive folks.
Yeah.
So that's good, because ClickFunnels 2.0 definitely doesn't love Keap.
Does not love Infusionsoft to Keap. No, that's why that shirt was always funny to me. Because I was like, I remember getting that from them at the booth at icon.
Yeah.
And like I held on to it, and that's where I'm like, it's so funny to me that I have this shirt that says like Funnels loves Infusionsoft. And
oh, they do. They do.
They did.
I think they still do. But
they did.
Anyway, I think we should probably wrap it up. We've been doing this for about half an hour. I was only expecting to spend maybe 10, 15 minutes to talk about this intro. So that was awesome. You got the hand. No, apology accepted. Thanks for hanging out and adding value to this. So if you thought this was cool, go ahead and leave a comment. Go be friends with Heather. And we'll see you at PCon hopefully next week. And and in the meantime, because cliffhangers, right? My business coach Partiv, he wrote the marketing automation book with Dan Kennedy. He encouraged me to write a companion chapter that basically gives everything that I know about marketing customer journey design and like marketing automation modeling. Ooh. I somehow packed it into 70 pages, and that just got published a couple of days ago. So Heather, I'll send you the link to that directly after this.
Absolutely, I want to see it. Congrats!
Yeah, no, it's
so
like
cool.
PhD level kind of like. The average person would read it and be like, I can't understand this. But the average person isn't the target audience. You're the target audience. People like Michelle Bell, folks like Jade and Greg and all those like the actual authorities and experts in marketing automation. That's who it's for. So
awesome. I'm excited. I can't wait.
It's going to be rad. So I'm going to go ahead and end the live video. I don't know when the delay is. But you have a great day. And
I will.
I'll see you next week.